Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure review. Just to warn you in advance, this will not be an unboxing video. We're going to look at these action figures as they are, mint in box. So these action figures are going to remain in their packaging. So we're just going to just visually look at them. The reason why is because I only have a small collection of the Spartan collection action figures, the larger 6-inch scale Halo figures, and all my figures are still mint in box. I think I might just have one that's loose. I'm more about the smaller 4-inch scale figures. Those I unbox all the time, but I don't have a large enough collection of these to warrant unboxing them because I'm just really stoked on the smaller figures. So we're just gonna look at this set as it is in the box. All right, so what this is a special 2-pack. It's a GameStop exclusive, as you can see right there. We are celebrating 20 years of Halo and 20 years of Master Chief. So this set really took me by surprise. I don't always keep up to date with the Halo action figures. For me, anytime I walk into the store is when I see the new figures. I don't follow action figure news as closely as I used to. A part of it is because I like the surprise of either going into a store or shopping around online and seeing something new. So this is a set I came across on Amazon. Even though it's a GameStop exclusive, there was a third-party seller on Amazon selling this. And for me, I just had to buy it. My local GameStops, they're horrible at keeping stuff in stock or even getting new inventory sometimes, especially when it comes to action figures. It only got worse during the last 2 years during the pandemic. So it's not very often that they get stuff like this. And I had no problem pulling the trigger on Amazon. I paid somewhat of a markup, but for the most part I felt it was worth it because I'm a huge fan of Master Chief, and I thought it was just fantastic getting two different versions of the figure. On our left, we have Master Chief in his Spartan armor as he appears in Combat Evolved, the first game. And then on our right, we have Master Chief as he appears in Halo Infinite. As you can see, two very, very distinct looking molds, completely different looking action figures. And it's a fun history lesson because it kind of gives you an insight into the design process of the character and how the characters evolved over the last 20 years. For me, it boggles my mind that Halo is 20 years old. It seems like yesterday that I was talking about the first game with some of my friends over lunch, and here we are 20 years later. It's evolved from an Xbox game, and we're at the point now where they even have a television series. It's insane. So yeah, over here on our left we have Master Chief as he appeared in the first game. It's really cool to see him in physical 3D action figure form. It's not the first time that we've gotten Master Chief action figures from the previous games. Joyride Studios, McFarlane Toys, they've all given us different iterations of the Master Chief from the earlier games like Halo 2 and whatnot. But it's just really awesome that Jazzwares, the current holder of the license, that they're producing a 6-inch scale version of their OG Master Chief. And I think it's even awesome that they packed it side by side with the current iteration of the character. So it's just really cool that you get a side by side comparison of both figures. I would have appreciated more, I think, if the Halo Infinite version of Master Chief here didn't have the battle damage. As you can see here, he has a lot of battle scarring on his chest with the silver highlighting. It looks like he's seen some combat. There's some burns on his armor, a lot of scoring, a lot of scratches. Whereas Combat Evolved, this one is really clean. I would have loved it if they just gave us a clean version of Infinite Master Chief. But for what it is, I think it looks cool. One thing that might be hard to notice on the camera is that they're actually two different shades of green. Combat Evolved is a much lighter shade than Infinite. Infinite's a lot more darker, a little bit more drab. The visors, it seems like they share the same color plastic for gold, which is nice. But for the most part, when you look at both these figures, this one looks more realistic in its presentation. This one looks like it just came off the assembly line. And it's really cool too because they also give us somewhat of an evolution of the way the weapons were portrayed early on. Like over here is a comparison of the two different weapons. On the left from Combat Evolved, and on the right is as it appears in Infinite. You can see that there's a change in the detailing and in the size. But it's essentially the same iconic weapon. It's just been updated for a much more modern look, much like his armor. So back in the day, I kind of used to know, this was way back when, I'd be able to identify the different Halo Spartan armors, but I've lost track. So, if you're hardcore, you can pretty much identify which one's which. One of the reasons why I was really jonesing this armor is because if you watch the live action show on Paramount Plus, anytime they're inside Halsey's laboratory, you always see the prototype armor displayed like I said on the left side alcove of her studio, and it's all white and looks really cool. So for me, this is kind of nice to get that. Both figures come with extra pairs of hands, as you can see here. The back of the box, you just get like a side-by-side photo of both figures. Over here, Master Chief, Halo Combat Evolved, Master Chief, Halo Infinite. And this one comes with, the Combat Evolved comes with the MA-5B assault rifle, whereas the one on Infinite comes with the MA-40 assault rifle. They're kind of falling within the same family, but like I pointed out earlier, there's somewhat of an evolution between the designs. This guy comes with the Magnum pistol. This guy comes with the Disruptor. I thought it would have been cooler, and even just a fun nod to the hardcore fans, if they included, maybe like a Covenant weapon, like a Needler. Maybe give us a version of what the Needler looked like in Combat Evolved versus what it looks like in Infinite. On the bottom, we have the big logo celebrating 20 years. And then we have some of the other figures in the wave. I've reviewed, I believe, Spartan Yoroi right here. And I've also, I think, reviewed, I think one of these Master Chiefs. Oh, yeah, Halo 2. And if this is the grapple shot one, we've looked at that one. So, since we're on the subject of the evolution of Master Chief, it's only fair that we bring out this guy over here. So this is Master Chief from Halo 2. And part of me thinks it would have been even cooler if they made this a 3-pack. Because it seems kind of weird to jump from, Halo 1 to like Infinite. It would have been nice if they threw this guy in the mix and kind of put him as the in-between. So one thing that that's always thrown me off with the Halo 2 version of the figure is that this guy's a really lighter shade of green, and I don't recall him being this light in the video game, whereas I think this one feels more appropriate for the color scheme of this guy. Now that's just a personal preference, I might be wrong on that, but I kind of feel like, this shade of green should have been used for Combat Evolved, and this one vice versa. But as you can see with the comparison, it's really cool that we're getting two different versions of Master Chief. Which is odd is that it looks like this guy was probably designed and sculpted out later than this one. This guy doesn't look as detailed as the Combat Evolved one. It really looks like they put a lot of work into like OG Master Chief. Whereas Halo 2 Master Chief, the sculpting and the details a little bit softer. But it's just really cool. You kind of seeing the evolution of the character. Like early on, you can see how his visor was a little bit narrower, and then as the design evolved, it got, much broader, much wider. Likewise, it looks like the character design was cut a little bit leaner. The original design looks a little bit bulkier. And I'm curious, so here's the solo release of Master Chief from Halo Infinite, and here's the 2-pack version. I believe the figures are identical. The only thing is that if you get the solo figure, you get different weapons, and you also get the grapple shot. But I believe they've released this figure 2 or 3 times already. Yeah, so there's no shortage of Master Chief figures. One thing you'll notice, though, is that the Master Chief from Infinite that comes in the 2-pack, he has the metallic finish on the visor, which is really reflective, versus this one here, where the visor is just kind of like an opaque gold. You know, it's not reflective at all. So, you know, there's lots of options, a lot of variants in terms of what we get with Master Chief sometimes. But overall, the line's fantastic. I like it a lot. Very fond of it. But like I said, you know, I'm more about the smaller 4-inch scale figures. You know, I only have a handful of the 6-inch scale ones. And I don't know, that might change in the future. But right now, I don't want to go back and try to get some of the older figures. The price point on some of the older figures, they've kind of jumped up a little on the secondary market, especially since the new show debuted on Paramount Plus. But it's great, though. You know, I think it's awesome that they produce such wonderful figures nowadays, especially with Halo. It's awesome. All right, so let's wrap this video up. I apologize if you're looking for a full review. You know, there's a lot of people online on YouTube that review Halo action figures, but the Spartan collection isn't really necessarily my cup of tea. But I do enjoy, you know, collecting the, you know, certain figures every now and then. But if you want a full review, you know, just jump on YouTube, and I'm sure you'll find a content creator that'll fully unbox this and run you through all the different points of articulation and all the accessories. But I just want to thank you for checking out this video. Wrapping this up, once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are, if you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I will see you at the next one. Thank you for everything.